Thinking Fast and Slow, Daniel Kahneman. This is practical psychology about how the mind makes everyday judgments, written for curious readers who want clarity about their own thinking rather than self-help slogans. This video is a map of books that change thinking by changing the questions you ask. Some books teach you to notice mental shortcuts. Some teach you to respect uncertainty. Some widen your sense of history. Some teach you how influence works in real life. The point is not to collect facts. The point is to walk away with a few dependable mental moves you can use at work, in money decisions, and in conversations. While you listen, pick one book that matches your current problem. If you are making important decisions fast, start with Kahneman. If you feel overconfident, go to Taleb. If you want perspective, go to Harari. After each section, I will give you one small way to apply the idea without turning reading into homework. Also, these are not plot books. They are experience books. You do not need to read them in order. You just need a starting point that fits your brain right now. Kahneman's core shift is simple. Your mind has two modes. One is quick and automatic. The other is slow and deliberate. Once you see that split, you start spotting when a feeling is pretending to be a fact. You also get calmer about mistakes because most errors are predictable patterns, not personal failures. For beginners, the best approach is to read in short sessions. Pause when a bias sounds familiar. Then look for it the next day in a normal situation like shopping, planning, or arguing about priorities. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. Yuval Noah Harari. This is big-picture nonfiction that compresses human history into a readable panorama, helping you see modern life as a set of recent inventions rather than permanent truths. Use these books like tools, not like a syllabus. A tool is chosen by the job. If you want better decisions, you want bias awareness and uncertainty training. If you want better relationships, you want influence literacy. If you want calmer days, you want a practice, not another theory. A simple way to read this list is to do one pass for concepts, then a second pass for habits. On the concept pass, highlight one sentence per chapter that changes how you explain the world. On the habit pass, turn that sentence into one rule you test for a week. Harari is useful here because he shows how quickly shared stories become institutions. Money, nations, laws, and status symbols feel solid. They are also agreements we keep renewing. That perspective makes you less reactive. You stop treating every headline or trend as destiny. You start asking, what is the story here? Who benefits from it? And what alternative story could also be true? One application you can do today. Pick one obvious norm in your life. It can be your career ladder, your idea of success, or how you spend weekends. Write the norm in one sentence, then write two different origins for it. The goal is not to be cynical. The goal is to remember that most systems are designed. If they were designed once, they can be redesigned. That is a thinking upgrade with real leverage. Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. Robert B. Cialdini. This is a clear, story-rich guide to the common persuasion patterns that shape buying, agreeing, and complying, even when you believe you are being purely rational. The thinking shift here is moving from "I chose this" to "I was cued into this." Cialdini breaks influence into principles that show up everywhere: reciprocity, scarcity, social proof, authority, liking, consistency. You do not need to become a cold skeptic. You just need to see the levers. When you see the lever, you can decide whether you want to be moved by it. The beginner win is immediate. You will notice that many modern choices are not choices. They are decision environments. A limited time offer changes your sense of time. A crowd changes your sense of safety. A confident voice changes your sense of truth. A practical exercise. For 1 week when you feel sudden urgency, stop. Ask which principle is being triggered. If it is scarcity, slow down. If it is authority, check the incentives. If it is social proof, ask whether the crowd is actually informed. This book also helps you communicate ethically. If you lead a team, sell a product, or negotiate, you can use influence principles as a checklist for clarity. Are you being transparent? Are you creating false pressure? Are you asking for commitment before trust is earned? That last piece matters. A mind-changing book should make you more capable, not more paranoid. The Black Swan, Nassim Nicholas Taleb. This is a book about uncertainty and rare events, written in an argumentative, idea-driven style that trains you to distrust neat stories and respect what you cannot predict. The shift is learning to separate what happened from why you think it happened. Humans love explanations that feel complete. We link facts into a story and mistake the story for reality. Taleb pushes back hard on that habit. In real life, big outcomes are often driven by things that were not in the model. A surprise change in technology, a sudden market move, a health event, a rule change, a random meeting that opens a door. You do not have to live in fear of chaos. You can design your choices to be less fragile. That means avoiding situations where one hidden risk can wipe you out. It also means keeping some optionality, so good surprises can help you. A simple application: list your top 3 fragile areas. It could be income, health, or relationships. For each, ask one question. If a bad surprise happened next month, what single change would reduce the damage? Then ask the mirror question. If a good surprise happened, what preparation would let you benefit more? That is how this book changes thinking. It turns planning into positioning. Read it slowly. Some parts are dense. The payoff is not facts. The payoff is a new default setting toward risk. Meditations. Marcus Aurelius. This is a compact book of personal notes from a Roman emperor, focused on training attention, managing emotion, and acting with integrity under pressure in ordinary life. The thinking shift is moving from "I feel it, so it is true" to "I notice it, so I can choose." Stoicism in this form is not about being cold, it is about being stable. You practice separating events from your interpretation of events. You practice focusing on what you control. You practice returning to your values when the day is noisy. For modern readers, the biggest benefit is a calmer internal voice. You stop negotiating with every impulse. You stop building complicated reasons for simple avoidance. A practical way to read this: do not binge it. Read one short passage per day. Then write one sentence that describes the action it suggests. Keep it small. Answer one email with patience. Take one walk without your phone. Do one hard task first. This book changes how you think because it changes how you watch your own thinking. It gives you distance. That distance is where better decisions live. If you want a companion book from this list, pair it with Kahneman. Kahneman explains the biases. Marcus gives you a daily practice for handling them without drama. Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor E. Frankl. This is reflective nonfiction about purpose and resilience, written with direct clarity and focused on how meaning changes the way you endure hardship and choose your next step. The thinking shift is moving from "what do I want from life" to "what is life asking of me right now?" Frankl's core idea is that meaning is not a mood, it is a stance. It can come from work you do well, from care for other people, and from the way you face pain when you cannot remove it. This is not a productivity book, it is a calibration book. It helps you separate comfort from purpose. It also helps you notice when you are using distraction as a substitute for direction. One application: write down one responsibility you keep postponing. Make it specific. Then write one sentence that explains why it matters to someone besides you. That single sentence often creates momentum. Another application is for anxiety. When you feel stuck, ask what the smallest meaningful action is, not the perfect plan, not the full transformation. One action that aligns with who you want to be. This book changes how you think by making meaning feel actionable. It turns purpose into behavior. That is a rare and useful upgrade. Thinking Fast and Slow. Daniel Kahneman. This is practical psychology about how the mind makes everyday judgments, written for curious readers who want clarity about their own thinking rather than self-help slogans. Here is the simplest way to apply it. Treat your first answer as a draft. Fast thinking is useful for routine tasks. It is dangerous for estimates, forecasts, and social judgments. That is where confidence feels like evidence. Kahneman gives you language for common traps. Availability means you judge likelihood by what you can recall easily. Anchoring means the first number you see pulls your estimate, even if it is irrelevant. Loss aversion means you fear losing more than you value gaining. The point is not to eliminate bias. You cannot. The point is to build checkpoints for the moments that matter. A checkpoint you can copy. When you are about to commit time or money, ask 3 questions. What is my base rate? What would I advise a friend? What would change my mind? Those questions slow you down without making you indecisive. They also protect you from the most expensive mistakes, the ones that feel obvious in hindsight. If you read only one book from this whole list, make it this one. It has the widest transfer. It helps with work choices, health choices, and relationship choices. It makes you more accurate about yourself. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. Yuval Noah Harari. This is big-picture nonfiction that compresses human history into a readable panorama, helping you see modern life as a set of recent inventions rather than permanent truths. Harari's most useful shift is about shared stories. Humans cooperate at scale because we can believe in things that exist only in agreement. That idea changes how you read the world. You start noticing that many arguments are not about facts. They are about which story gets to define the facts. In practical terms, this makes you less easily captured by identity labels. If a story is a tool, you can choose which tools to use. You can also notice when a story is being used on you to narrow your options. An application that feels surprisingly modern. The next time you feel status pressure, pause. Ask, which story am I trying to satisfy? Is it a story about success, belonging, or being seen as competent? Then ask a second question. If this story was invented recently, what older story would judge it differently? You do not have to reject society, you just get a wider menu. That is what mind-changing books do. They increase your degrees of freedom. If you like this kind of perspective, read it alongside meditations. One widens your view. The other steadies your mind while your view widens. Influence. The Psychology of Persuasion. Robert B. Cialdini. This is a clear, story-rich guide to the common persuasion patterns that shape buying, agreeing, and complying, even when you believe you are being purely rational. The deeper shift is that influence is not only something other people do, it is also something you do to yourself through consistency. Once you make a small public commitment, you feel pressure to match it later. That pressure can be useful if you choose it. It can also trap you if you choose it carelessly. This is why simple habits work. A tiny commitment repeated becomes identity. A practical exercise for self-defense and growth. Pick one habit you want. Make the commitment small and public in a low-stakes way. Tell one friend. Put it on a calendar. Track it on paper. Now use the same knowledge to protect yourself. When a brand tries to get you to agree to a small step that implies a bigger one, pause. Ask whether you want that identity. This book changes how you think because it makes persuasion feel mechanical instead of magical. When you can name the principle, you can negotiate with it. If you want the full framework with examples and a clean beginner path, the long video linked from this short list will walk you through the 6 principles and the most common real-life traps. The Black Swan, Nassim Nicholas Taleb. This is a book about uncertainty and rare events, written in an argumentative, idea-driven style that trains you to distrust neat stories and respect what you cannot predict. A helpful way to translate it into everyday life is to stop treating your forecast as a promise. Treat it as one scenario among many. For careers, this means you do not bet everything on one narrow path. You build skills that travel. You keep relationships warm. You leave room for lateral moves. For personal finance, it means you avoid advice that assumes smooth averages. Real life is lumpy. It includes shocks. So your plan should survive shocks. A practical exercise. Write down one assumption you are making about the next year. Then write down 2 ways it could be wrong. One bad way and one good way. Now ask, what is the smallest adjustment that helps in both cases? That question tends to lead to resilience, not panic. Taleb can sound intense. If you want a softer companion, read Kahneman first. Kahneman explains why you love tidy stories. Taleb explains what tidy stories miss. Together, they make you harder to fool, including by your own optimism. Meditations. Marcus Aurelius. This is a compact book of personal notes from a Roman emperor, focused on training attention, managing emotion, and acting with integrity under pressure in ordinary life. In a modern attention economy, the biggest thinking upgrade is noticing what is pulling your mind. Marcus is relentlessly practical. He reminds himself to return to the task, to speak plainly, to treat other people as fallible, to accept delays without adding anger. This is not about being passive. It is about choosing your response before the world chooses it for you. A simple application you can try for 7 days. Start the morning by writing one intention in plain language. It can be work patiently or do the hard task first. Then, at midday, check whether you drifted. If you did, restart without blame. That restart is the practice. Many readers are surprised by how modern it feels. The situations change, the mind patterns do not. If you want a thinking stack that covers bias, influence, and calm, pair this with Kahneman and Cialdini. You get accuracy, protection, and steadiness. Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor E. Frankl. This is reflective nonfiction about purpose and resilience, written with direct clarity and focused on how meaning changes the way you endure hardship and choose your next step. A final way these books change thinking is that they make you more responsible without making you harsh. Kahneman teaches humility about your judgments. Taleb teaches humility about your forecasts. Harari teaches humility about your era. Cialdini teaches humility about your choices. Marcus teaches humility about your moods. Frankl teaches humility about suffering. None of that is depressing. It is freeing. When you stop pretending you are perfectly rational and perfectly in control, you can build systems that actually work. Here is the simplest starting plan. Choose one book. Read for 10 minutes a day. After each session, write one sentence that begins with "This changes how I will." Then finish the sentence with a real behavior. Keep the behavior small. Call one person. Delay one purchase. Ask one better question in a meeting. Take one quiet walk. If you want the full breakdown with a clean order and beginner guidance, watch the long guide on this channel. It will help you pick the one book that matches the shift you need most right now.